Welcome back to Chasing Masculinity, the podcast where we break down what it truly means to be a man and how to build a life rooted in strength, discipline, and purpose. I'm your host, Colton Wutzke, and today we're diving into a topic that's often misunderstood: the relationship between money and happiness. We've all heard the phrase, money doesn't buy happiness. It's something that gets thrown around in conversations about wealth and success and fulfillment, but what does it actually mean? Some people use it as an excuse to avoid actual financial responsibility, while others who have accumulated great wealth say it as a realization that money alone isn't enough to create a meaningful life. So, where's the truth? Today, we're going to break that down with Rule 23. Money does not buy happiness. It buys security. The reality is that money is not the source of happiness, but it does provide stability. It can give you that foundation to pursue things that will actually lead to happiness, those strong relationships, that sense of purpose, that freedom to live life on your terms. So in this episode, we're going to explore why the pursuit of money alone will never lead to fulfillment, the real impact of financial security and what it has on your ability to be happy, and how can you build a strong financial foundation without letting that money define you. So if you've ever struggled with financial stress, questioned how much money really matters, or wondered what role wealth should play in your pursuit of masculinity, this episode is for you. Let's get into it. Now, I want to start with this preface. I am not a master at this. I have not mastered any of these. In fact, I struggle with every single one of the topics I'm about to talk about today. These are things that I found that have helped me, things that have eased that burden of money in my life, or things that I'm still trying to and failing to implement. So please don't come to me as some sort of financial guru who's got it all figured out. These are things that I'm struggling with probably more than anybody else. So let's start with the first part of this rule: money does not buy happiness. So what does that mean? How can we understand this phrase? Money doesn't buy happiness. It's a widely accepted saying, but is it actually true? The phrase is often used without any context, which will often lead to the misunderstanding about the role that money actually plays in your life. People can interpret it in different ways based on their own financial situation and mindset. So whatever your fiscal responsibilities are, that's kind of the lens that you're going to be viewing this phrase through. The common misconceptions about money and happiness are that, one, some believe that wealth guarantees happiness, yet many wealthy people feel empty and unfulfilled. I mean, we've heard this a dozen times. Celebrity CEOs, lottery winners, whoever, they struggle with depression or whatever despite financial success. So there's not a clear linear path of money equals happiness. Money provides opportunities, but it doesn't guarantee that contentment, that strong relationships, or personal fulfillment that happiness could otherwise be derived from. Then others believe that money is completely unnecessary for happiness. So they're going to the other side of the spectrum, overlooking all of the stress that financial instability actually can cause and directly wreak havoc on your happiness. So financial problems can dominate a person's life, leading to anxiety, relationship issues, lack of personal freedom. Think of a father who's working 80 hours a week just to keep food on the table. He doesn't have time to be present with his children. So the complete lack of money doesn't mean that you're now allowing this happiness to take root in your life either. So where's the reality? What actually occurs between these two polar opposites? Well, money provides, but it doesn't fulfill. I think it's obvious we live in a society, we live in an era where money is absolutely necessary. It would be very hard to find an argument otherwise. You need money. It is a tool. It is a tool for growth. It can be a powerful and useful and positive tool. So money provides, but you can't derive fulfillment from that provision. So what does that mean? Happiness isn't a direct product of wealth. You can't buy it. But how you use it could be. Money is a tool. It can improve your life, but it can't replace things like your purpose. It can't replace your relationships or your personal growth. There's those two opposing views on wealth and happiness. There's one, the wealth redistribution argument. So some people are going to claim that excess wealth doesn't bring happiness. Therefore, it should be redistributed. This is that virtue signaling we see. Those who advocate for redistributing wealth often do so while failing to take responsibility on their own financial situation. The reality is taking money from one group and giving it to another doesn't create happiness. It's just going to create a dependence. Then there's the wealth accumulation side of the argument. Many wealthy individuals will also say money doesn't buy happiness, but it's not because they don't have money and just want it. It's because they have and have experienced what financial success looks like without that fulfillment. High earners who have no purpose beyond making money are going to feel lost or disconnected from any sense of actual, true, genuine fulfillment. So the problem isn't wealth itself. It's more of the lack of a deeper meaning behind it. So let's dive into the reality of wealth and happiness. Money provides a foundation, not fulfillment. Wealth itself is not the source of happiness, but it can enable the pursuit of it. Think of a man who has financial security. He can spend more time with his family instead of stressing over bills. He can pursue passions and hobbies without financial restrictions. He can support things he cares about and find a deeper meaning in life. But there's limits of wealth and happiness too. Think of the biblical warning in 1 Timothy 6:10. For the love of money is the root of all evil. So money itself isn't inherently a problem, but the idolization of it is. If money is your only goal, then you're never going to be satisfied because there's always more to chase. There literally is an endless cap. There is no cap. You can go on forever. There's always a higher number. There's wealthy individuals who suffer from depression, addiction, broken relationships, despite having everything money can buy. That's because wealth doesn't replace love and faith and purpose or a sense of community. But that doesn't mean you have to throw away how our society operates as a whole and try to live without making and earning yourself, because financial struggles are also going to prevent happiness. Constant stress about paying bills, affording necessities, providing for your family as a man is supposed to is going to limit your ability to pursue happiness. So that money, it doesn't guarantee happiness, but financial insecurity makes happiness much, much harder to achieve. So there is certainly a balancing act in all of this. True fulfillment is going to come from your relationships, your purpose, and security, not wealth alone. So I want to dive into the impact of financial insecurity before I dive into the second part of this rule. So what is the harsh reality of financial instability? Many families are only one unexpected expense away from financial disaster. This very well could be you. So there are some stats that actually highlight the severity of this issue. A 2023 survey by Bankrate found that almost 60% of Americans, the wealthiest country in the world, cannot afford a $1,000 emergency expense. A Federal Reserve study found that 37% of U.S. adults would struggle to cover a $400 emergency. The majority of people here are living paycheck to paycheck, meaning they rely entirely on their next income to cover necessities without any safety net. That takes a huge mental toll on financial instability, especially if you are shepherding your family's finances, which isn't inherently a role of a man in the house, but it very well could be if that's one of the mantles that you've taken up. That is a huge stressor. That is something that's going to keep you up every night. There's constant anxiety and stress about all these what-if scenarios. Every month becomes this financial survival game, worrying about things like your rent or mortgage or your bills or just your daily expenses. Living paycheck to paycheck is creating this scarcity mindset where all your focus is on the short term, making it harder to plan for the future. All you're worried about is making sure that you're not going to lose the house next month, or that you're going to be able to make your car payment, or whatever that would look like. Hey, I need to make sure that we can afford groceries, or that we're not accumulating credit card debts higher than what's actually in our bank account. This, aggregated over the long term, can cause this long-term stress, which has been proven to lead to increased cortisol levels, which is going to negatively impact your physical health. And also, it's related to higher risks of heart disease and depression and sleep disorders. There is a major compounding effect about constantly living in this state of stress. It is actually killing you guys. And not just that, it's going to lead to potentially strained relationships due to this financial pressure. Money is one of the leading causes of conflicts in relationships, particularly in marriages. A husband and wife who struggle financially are probably going to experience arguments over spending habits. There's going to be increased tensions when bills or debt arise, and a lack of quality time together due to excessive hours just to make ends meet is not going to help the situation at all. It's going to continue this path, this negative spiraling, if you will, of what this problem has caused. It is also going to negatively impact your ability to focus on your self-improvement. Think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Before a person can focus on self-improvement, they have to secure their basic needs first. You have to have your food, shelter, stability. This financial insecurity kind of forces people down into those very base levels of survival mode. That means they're focusing on their immediate concerns and neglecting the things that are going to make not just them better, but their community better. They're not going to be able to spend time learning or spend time on self-improvement. A man who's going to work 2 jobs just to be able to afford rent probably doesn't have as much time to work on his physical health. He's either going to be too exhausted to exercise or eat properly, or he's just genuinely not going to have time in the day based on his other more pressing needs. Your mental and spiritual growth are also going to take a hit if you have no time to read or reflect or to build skills. And your social connections could take a hit too. If you only ever socialize with the people you directly interact with at work, that's a pretty limited social circle. We are social beings. We need to socialize with other people. It is proven to be positive towards our mental health is getting out, even for you introverts, getting out and socializing and just being present with community. So all that being said, survival mode today is a lot different than what survival mode for our grandparents or great-grandparents probably looked like. Think of a century ago versus today. Financial struggle meant survival. Like, families lived day to day. They were working just to put an adequate amount of food on the table and to keep warm. Starvation and homelessness and extreme poverty were actually common for the working class families. Today, that financial struggle looks a lot different, but it doesn't mean it doesn't carry an immense amount of stress, too. Instead of starvation, maybe modern financial security might mean some sort of crippling debt with credit cards or student loans or medical bills, or inflation. Just things are harder and harder to afford. And then keeping up with this fast-paced consumer society. Everybody needs a new pair of shoes. Unfortunately, a pair of shoes isn't going to last you more than a few years if you use it regularly and needs to be replaced. There's just constantly a need to be replacing and buying things. And this social comparison is going to continually add to that pressure. So you see all of your peers buying homes or driving a nicer car or going on vacations or whatever that is. If you didn't have exposure to that, you would never care, but we all do. So there's always a sense that there could be more. The expectation to keep up could actually lead to more excessive spending and deeper financial insecurity. It's, again, this downward spiral. All of this, all of that insecurity, there's still a common thread. That stress is going to remain the same. Whether you buy food in 1924 or you're struggling to pay rent today, financial insecurity is going to limit your personal freedom. It's going to increase your stress. It is going to have an effect on your overall well-being. Even in a more advanced economy, the fundamental truth is going to remain the same. Financial instability just makes your life harder. If you are constantly stressed about money, you're going to lack the required mental bandwidth to, one, build relationships. So financial worries are going to cause people to withdraw from social interactions. You're not going to want to go to the bar with friends anymore. Many men feel ashamed of financial struggles. That's going to lead to more isolation. A man who is in debt is going to avoid dating due to fear of rejection, of feeling inadequate, or just not being able to take his lady to a nice place. Friendships can also suffer from this money stress because it could lead to irritability, a lack of time, and an inability to participate in those necessary social events. So now, number 2 for what you're going to lack the mental bandwidth to is working on self-improvement. Things like financial instability are going to force people to have a reactive mindset. You're going to only deal with the problems as they arise rather than proactively improving your life, rather than taking hold of the wheel. Let's say you are struggling financially. You're not going to take the time to invest in learning a new skill to advance in your career because that financial stress will require you to remain in, maybe you in a low-paying job just to survive. You cannot take the risk to move anywhere else because you need that income. Without it, things could deteriorate fast. People with financial security can focus on things like growth and education and career advancement, while those outside of that are trapped in this survival mode. They just need to stay where they're at in order to keep moving, and any risk of moving outside of that could bring on the risk of not having that immediate necessary funds that they need. And the third and last thing that you're going to lack the mental bandwidth to is pursuing your passions and your dreams, your passion projects, your hobbies, your self-improvement. These all require time and energy. If you want to go sit in your garage for 10 hours a week and work on your car, that's great, but you need to have 10 hours a week to work on your car. You have to have a car to work on. You have to have the tools and the knowledge and everything that comes along with that. It adds up, trust me, very fast if you want to be that sort of weekend mechanic. And if you don't have just the genuine time or any sort of extra funds, you're never going to be able to pursue that. Added on to that, this financial stress is going to consume all your mental capacity. Your personal fulfillment is going to become an afterthought. You're just not even going to want to worry about something like that because at the end of the day, it's just another problem that you have to solve. And if you're constantly in a state of stress, you're not going to want that. You're just going to want to sit and watch Netflix or just not have to mentally strain yourself any further. And this financial instability doesn't just impact your bank account, it will limit your ability to grow too. If you're financially secure, you can take bigger risks and you can pursue bigger goals. You can dedicate time to relationships and personal fulfillment. I'm not saying people with lots of money do this. I'm just saying it gives you the availability to. You can build a future without a constant fear of money problems. So if you're financially unstable, every decision revolves around survival, not growth. So now I want to get into the second part of Rule 23. Money does not buy happiness, it buys security. What does money mean as security? So when I say money buys security, what does financial security look like? It may be easy to assume that financial security means just an excess amount of wealth, but it's more about a peace of mind and control over your life. Financial security could just mean having enough savings to handle emergencies and not living in a constant fear of losing your home or missing bills. Being able to actually focus on higher goals rather than just surviving paycheck to paycheck. I'm not talking about being a multimillionaire here. I'm talking about having enough to where if something were to happen, you're not going to take a major hit in your life. You're not going to lose your car or your home or your general well-being if something big happens. This financial security will also allow you to take risks in your career growth without fear of financial ruin. So if you have a savings buffer, maybe you can get out of a bad job and look for better opportunities rather than being trapped or feeling like you have to stay where you're at in order to keep providing. You're also going to be better suited to make long-term decisions instead of these short-term survival choices. You will also, and most importantly, be able to support and protect your family by providing them that sense of security. And I don't mean security as in a number in a bank account. I mean that a minimum level of financial security will allow you to then provide that stability that your family is looking for you to provide. A father who secures his finances can spend more quality time with his children instead of having to work these extra hours just to pay bills or whatever that looks like. So what does defining your own financial foundation look like? Well, this financial security is going to look different for everybody. Some men are going to value stable jobs with predictable incomes, while others might actually seek the entrepreneurial mindset and want this financial independence with the risk that that brings. The key is knowing what security means for you and then working towards it. So you can ask yourself things like, do I want my own home? Is renting okay for me? Do I need a six-figure salary, or am I content with lower income if it means maybe more freedom? What financial habits do I need to develop to ensure stability? Am I a chronic spender? Things like that. The next is to surround yourself with the right people. So community plays a very important role in this rule. So your financial mindset is shaped by who you associate yourself with. Your environment is going to influence your financial habits and your financial goals. If you surround yourself with reckless spenders, if you hang out with people who are constantly wanting to go buy things, that's going to rub off on you. Or if you're around people who are constantly complaining about finances or making excuses about why they never have enough, you're going to start adopting that same mindset just out of pure association. If you're always around people who have financial chaos, it's easy to normalize these bad habits, which then make it easier for you to pick up yourself. Conversely, being around financially responsible and ambitious men could push you towards security and success. Think about if your friends are disciplined with their budgeting and saving or even investing, their habits could start to rub off on you. If you see somebody with a stable income and is able to start exploring different investment opportunities, you're going to look at that and realize, oh, maybe I want this too. Maybe this is something I want to pursue, and that could motivate you to get your own finances in check. I like to think of Proverbs 13:20, walk with the wise and become wise, for companion of fools suffers harm. So building wealth, it's going to strengthen your relationships too, because your financial security is going to allow you to do things like host family gatherings without worrying about that direct cost, or being able to actually spend quality time with loved ones instead of constantly working. And then you can also give back to your community. You can give more to church or to missions or whatever that looks like in your life to contribute to something greater than just yourself. You can put back into the world. True happiness really comes from the relationships and experiences, not this material wealth, but this money. It's going to help facilitate these meaningful interactions if you're balancing it carefully and not allowing yourself to be consumed by it. Think of just having just enough money on top of your basic necessities and your savings to make sure that you're secure to do some light traveling, visiting family, or supporting someone who's in need, or just taking your wife on date nights. These are little luxuries we don't think of that could have a huge impact on your life. Going back to community, there's an importance of strong financial brotherhood. That would be seeking out mentors and friends and leaders who understand the importance of financial discipline. You can surround yourself by men who prioritize stability over things just like blatant spending and luxury. Or think of the long-term impact of their finances rather than these short-term wins. They're not chasing these quick turnarounds or big bucks now. And also men who are going to encourage this financial wisdom instead of this just blatant reckless spending. Try to learn from men who focus on building generational wealth rather than spending for instant gratification. If you are taking your advice from somebody who wants to spend every single penny before he dies, then they are still, even if that's aggregated over the next 80 years, still thinking in the short term. So seeing the long-term mindset in action will begin to shift your own financial thinking. So before we get into the application section of this rule, I want to take a quick moment to talk about what my intent with this rule was. It was to stop the idea that money is bad, that this idea that Christians have that finance and wealth is evil. It can lead to temptation when you idolize it, but so can anything else in life. There's obviously a flip to this coin. If you start pursuing wealth for the sake of wealth, that's bad. I didn't get into that. I didn't get into the clear sin and the clear temptation that wealth can take over your life. I want to just break down the barrier that this idea of money and accumulating this sense of security is inherently evil, because it's not. In fact, it is a necessity for men to provide for their families. So now let's get into what it looks like to apply Rule 23. Money does not buy happiness, it buys security. First, where do you hear this saying, money doesn't buy happiness, the most? Identify the source of where you have heard this. Is it from wealthy individuals who have learned their lesson that excess money doesn't really solve that emotional emptiness? Or are you hearing it from people who really never got there and who are struggling financially, who just use the phrase to avoid financial responsibility? Or they're using it to mask their greed that they really want more via wealth distribution. And how do these different groups, there's the wealthy, poor, middle class, interpret this phrase? Where do you fall into this interpretation? The wealthy might say it because they've actually experienced the limits of money providing fulfillment. And people who are struggling are going to use it to downplay their financial situation rather than trying to take control of it. Then there's that middle class who kind of falls in between. Maybe they understand that money doesn't buy happiness, but that financial insecurity will lead to misery. Assess your financial foundation. How is your fiscal situation looking? Are you stable? Do you have an emergency fund? Do you have savings? Do you have control over your spending? Or are you rocky? Do you pay bills but have a little savings but often feel that financial pressure? You feel like one big thing could flip all this upside down. Or is it completely unpredictable? Do you live paycheck to paycheck and have no financial security whatsoever? And next, are your financial habits helping you build this security, or are they actually keeping you in that survival mode? Are you budgeting? Are you tracking expenses? Are you saving consistently or spending everything you earn? Do you have this long-term financial health set up for eventually being able to pursue things like skills and education or growing your assets? Next, I want you to envision your financial future. Where do you want to be in your finances in the next just 2 to 5 years? Do you want to have just more savings, a better paying job? Do you want to be entirely debt-free? And then what steps can you actually take to start improving that situation? If you want to have $10,000 in savings, break it down. I have a $10,000 goal. That's $200 a month for 4 years or so. What expenses can you cut? What extra income can you generate? What can you do to start actually creating these tangible results to get you towards your defined goal? Then think about the tangible benefits of this financial security. What would financial security allow you to do more of? Would it just create less stress about bills and having a stronger peace of mind? Would it allow you to have more time with family instead of constantly working to survive? Would it allow you to have more freedom to pursue passions instead of being stuck paycheck to paycheck? Maybe it would allow your wife to retire so you can start a family. There could be some genuine big impacts of trying to create this financial freedom. It can literally change your life. So next, develop a plan for financial stability. You can create a concrete, step-by-step plan to build the security without really having a big background in finances or budgeting. You can create a budget and track your expenses. You know exactly where your money's going every month. You can look. You just have to write it down. Then you could potentially increase your income by skill building or career growth or seeking new opportunities and investing in skills that will actually raise your earning potential. And then you can reduce unnecessary spending by potentially eliminating debt or getting rid of things that you aren't needed in your life by focusing on financial discipline rather than more impulse purchases. Lastly, again, the importance of surrounding yourself with the right people. You can identify the people in your life who influence your financial decisions, both good and bad. Maybe it's your parents or your friends or your spouse. Are they pushing you towards reckless spending or financial security? Are they encouraging this long-term success or this more short-term indulgence? And if they are negatively impacting your life, maybe you need to take control of your finances and decide, no, I'm not going to allow this to influence. I need to take the reins. Or maybe you can say, I really can't do this. This is not my strong suit, but it is my spouse's. And you can voice your concerns to them and allow them to take the reins and work with them on creating this financial stability. You can also seek out financially disciplined men who encourage that growth. You can join groups or communities focused on financial responsibility and personal development. Or you can create your own. Just have a guys' night where you talk about this sort of issue and work through the things that you're struggling with now. So as we wrap up today's episode, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Money by itself does not create happiness, but the security it provides removes many of the obstacles that could stand in the way of your happiness. When you are financially stable, you free yourself from the constant stress of survival, allowing you to focus on what truly matters: your relationships, your purpose, your personal growth. A man who is in control of his finances is in control of his life. He is not enslaved to debt, reckless spending, or the fear of the next unexpected expense. So ask yourself, are your financial habits leading you towards security, or are they keeping you in a cycle of stress? This isn't about chasing wealth for the sake of luxury. It's about taking ownership of your financial future so you can live with confidence and clarity. Start today, whether it's creating a budget, cutting unnecessary expenses, or taking the steps to increase your income. Every small move towards financial stability is a step towards a stronger, more capable version of yourself. Because in the end, happiness thrives in security, but not in wealth alone. So thank you for tuning into Chasing Masculinity. If you found value in today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with somebody who you think might need to hear it. And as always, keep chasing masculinity.